What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. And today we're back in the battle chamber. We have David on the right playing set 10 Vegito, and then we have Daniel on the left playing set 2 Vegito. This is Daniel's first actual tournament back in a very, very long time. He hasn't played the game in quite a while, so spoiler alert, he actually went undefeated and won the entire event with set 2 Vegito, so really happy for him. But I had to showcase this game because I'm super excited for him, you know, first day back going undefeated and winning the whole thing. If you guys don't know what Vegito does, he gives all of your Gokus and Vegeta red, blue, and green in all areas. So essentially you can charge multiple, you know, copies of Gokus and Vegetas and give them multicolor purpose energy. The only color Vegito doesn't give them is yellow, so obviously you have the option of playing yellow Gokus and yellow Vegeta, so you have all 4 colors at your disposal. So we're going to catch up. David started by charging. We're already on turn 2. Daniel did charge and activate the Vegito skill to mill the top card, and because it was a Goku, he gets plus 5k. David's turn, charge second energy, swing with Vegito. Daniel's going to go ahead and take that damage. So I like the set 10 Vegito leader because it has the secondary awakening condition where if one of your battle cards or blue Unisons leave the field, it can awaken. So you start off with a heavier life total. Because Dan hasn't played in quite some time, he wasn't really aware how that mechanic worked, essentially. So I give him kudos for playing around, you know, his opponent's leader being awakened turn 1. And obviously he does win this game, but we're going to go ahead and see exactly how he pulls it off. I wanted to showcase this deck because it is an older leader, obviously one of the oldest leaders in the game from set 2. But the fact that a lot of support for Vegito has come out throughout the years kind of makes this leader stand out in my opinion. Now there are some rumors floating around that it's a possibility this leader might get a reboot leader, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. Vegito set 2 leader does have a very unique skill by giving a multicolor, you know, essentially multicolor attributes to monocolored cards, so to speak. It's probably the only leader in the game that does that. You could kind of make the argument that the Warrior of Universe 7 skill is similar, but that just removes restricted cost. Vegito literally makes Gokus and Vegetas in all areas multicolor cards, so it gives you a lot of versatility to play, you know, off the cuff strategies. But there is specific support for the Vegito archetype when it comes to battle cards. So the leader itself is good because it gives you that multicolor ability for charging purposes and energy restriction purposes, but the battle cards is what really makes the deck shine in my opinion. So as you can see, Daniel is playing a lot of yellow Vegetas and Goku, so he can utilize and take advantage of that leader skill and get all 4 colors. And David is just really playing a blue Vegito strategy, you know, putting cards on the board, because Vegito turns KO'd battle cards and KO'd Unison cards into untap 1, draw 1. And this Vegeta here that he has on the board, when he dies, he does untap another card. So in conjunction with his leader, he'll be untapping 2 energy. And blue is just in a really good position in the meta right now. It has a lot of good power cards with Obuni. It has, you know, really good Unisons with the new baby Unison from set 11. So blue is going to be a powerhouse in my opinion moving forward. I'm not so sure about the Vegito leader itself, but blue in general is going to be really good. And on top of that, we have Dan playing the older Vegito leader, which I think is going to be really good too. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these decks kind of shift going into a new format and, you know, flexing their dominance, so to speak. So as you can see, Dan is able to go ahead and play that Potara card from the anniversary box, which is going to go ahead and grab him the Hyper Rush Vegito from the deck, which is insane. You know, basically, whether it's a combination of polymorphic Potara or Saiyan Duo Goku and Vegeta, you can essentially get the anniversary box Vegito on the board and then go ahead into the deck for 2 energy and grab your Hyper Rush, which Hyper Rush is a monster of a card. He's a 25k triple striker. When he comes out, you have the option of he has basically 1 auto, but you have the option of activating all the separate autos. You discard a card from your opponent's hand, you KO one of their battle cards, and then you have the option of taking 2 life, and you have the option of drawing 2 cards. So you can see exactly how much advantage this Vegito deck can get, because it is an older Awaken, draw 2 leader. And having a 25k body on board with triple strike that you can get out essentially on turn 2 is ridiculous. It's going to be a Unison killer moving forward. If you don't want to give your opponent advantage, or if you don't want to strike your opponent's life, you can go ahead after their board and go after the Unisons who have, built up multiple markers. So the card is a powerhouse, and getting it out on turn 2 is nuts. So as you can see, we're going to go ahead and Daniel's going to go ahead and try and put as much pressure as possible while maintaining, which is the key in my opinion. The key to this deck is the amount of pressure, the amount of aggression it could put on while maintaining, a lot of resources in hand, because you can see him siphoning through his hand. He's got well over 10 cards, and a lot of the times aggro decks run out of steam because they don't have enough resources in hand to play the management game with their opponent. But Vegito completely bypasses that. So it's interesting, in my opinion, having 2 contradictory styles, efficiency and aggressiveness, but you can see that here with the Vegito leader. It's an efficient aggro deck, which in my opinion is awesome. Now, obviously, the caveat of playing the Vegito deck is you don't essentially want to draw your pieces. You want them in the deck so you can go ahead and fetch them. So you do have to be careful with the RNG. Sometimes it's not going to be in your favor. But David's going to go ahead and tap 1 energy here to play Dr. Rhoda, which I just found out was Universe 6 as I've been rewatching Dragon Ball Super. I had no idea Dr. Rhoda was from Universe 6, but he is a 1-drop blocker, which is what Vegito likes. And when he dies, he gets to untap an energy. So again, in conjunction with the leader, he'll be untapping 2 and drawing a card. So he's going to go ahead and tap another 1 to play another Dr. Rhoda. You can see Vegito, the blue Vegito, playing a more kind of turtle style. So these 2 styles do contrast. They're exact opposites. Vegito wants to go ahead and play the long game, where I should rephrase that. Set 10 Vegito wants to go ahead and play the long game, whereas set 2 Vegito wants to go ahead and blow your opponent out as quickly as possible. But David seems to be doing a good job. I mean, he's got a couple blockers on board. He's already awakened. He's still got a high life total at 7, and he's in blue. And we're only on turn 3, which is insane. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything works out here. Daniel is clearly winning the hand advantage game, and he's already at 3 life. So virtually speaking, David's in the lead right now because he has a higher life total. But in the game of Dragon Ball, we know that that's not really how that works. So Daniel's going to go ahead and tap 3 for the Draft Box 5 Goku, which is going to pop the entire board. And then it is going to trigger Vegito, but essentially now he is open. He doesn't have 2 blockers on board, so we're going to go ahead and get some pressure here. 20k to lead. I don't think David's going to counter this attack. He's going to go ahead and play Zamasu super combo, which is probably the most broken super combo in the game. By super comboing with this card, you get to rest one of your opponent's cards. So it does hit leaders, it does hit battle cards. And again, Daniel being rusty and not having played for a while, these are some of the things that you're going to have to learn. I've had to go through it myself also, not having played in a very long time. There's a couple of interactions and cards that I've missed, being out of the game. So it's one of those definite situations where you're going to go through a lot of growing pains. But like I said, I do give kudos to Dan for, being able to knock everybody out of this tournament and taking it at the end of the day. So that Zamasu super combo is going to put in a lot of work for David there, but he is going to go ahead and take that 1 energy, or that 1 life rather. And because Daniel has all colors in the grave, or all colors in the drop area, he gets to play this Goku for free. Didn't activate the effect, but it's still, a pretty beefy hitter on the board here. David's got all his energy open, so we're going to see exactly if he decides to counter. I don't think he did counter, so I think they're in combo step. I don't think Dan's going to combo offensively, but let's see if David decides to combo defensively. No, he's just going to take the life. He goes down to 5, which is, still pretty good. I mean, we're going on turn 4 here, 5 life to 3 life. You would think David's got a slight advantage, but, Daniel is starting to build up his board presence here, which, can get out of control very quickly. So Dave's got a little bit of an uphill battle. So let's see what he decides to do coming on turn 4, which is probably like a big turn for most blue decks, because as you get higher up in your curve, you get more to the mid and late game. That's when your big bombs start coming out. So He's going to charge a God Sealing here for 4 energy. Let's see what he decides to do as far as, you know, advance his board state. Do you go Unison here? Do you go into Obuni to get more tokens and put pressure? There's a couple different ways you could go here, sitting at 5 life. So, yeah, untap the leader. Yeah. He's going to go ahead and play that baby Unison from set 11, which is a 3 restricted blue, but he's a really good Unison. I mean, plus 1 or plus 2, draw a card, and then he has a -5 where you can give one of your cards double strike, or he can give your leader double strike, and you can activate counter skills from your hand by discarding 2 cards instead of paying their energy cost. So we already know what the baby archetype is with all those counterplay cards. This is going to be obviously the main Unison they're going to be using in that deck, but it's non-restricted to baby, so you could essentially play it in any blue deck as long as you have the space for it. And you know, the golden grade ape, you know, golden Avenger or whatnot, that SR that we got from set 11 is a new counter skill. So it's going to be interesting to see if David is going that route or if he's just playing the Unison for the draw power and for giving his leader double strikes. So Vegito's going to go ahead and swing auto draw. He's just showing the Zeno Unison, as he's probably drawn it a little too late, not being able to ramp earlier in the game. I'm not exactly quite sure what the attack target is, but Vegito did declare an attack, and he already resolved his auto. For some reason, I feel like he's attacking at lead. I think that makes the most sense because the other battle cards, I mean, Hyper Rush is 25, Anniversary, Draft Box 5 is 20k, and I believe that Black Goku there, I shouldn't say, it's an Ultra Instant Goku, but it's black color. I believe he's 25. So it makes sense to me that he's probably attacking lead. Maybe not. So he's gonna combo. So maybe that Draft Box Goku is a 15k. All right, so Daniel combos the Anniversary Box Vegito to save his battle card. And we're gonna go ahead. David's gonna swing with the baby Unison at the Draft Box Goku. I wish I knew his name. For some reason, I don't remember his name, so I'm just referring to it as Draft Box 5 Goku. But Baby Unison is swinging for 15 into that battle card. Daniel is not going to counter. David's not going to combo. Does Daniel have any combos? Let's see. I mean, he has, physically, he has combo power, but does he want to use it and save the battle card here? David does have 1 energy open, so there might be another follow-up play here. It might be one of those things where do you combo to save it? It looks like he does combo the 5k to save it because he wants to compete and keep his board state up, which is just definitely a smart play. And then David's going to go ahead and slap down the Oob blocker from set 11. Sorry about that. Just got an important message I was just looking at on my phone. He's going to slap down the Oob blocker, and because he controls a Unison, draw a card and pass. So Daniel's going to go ahead and draw for turn, untap. Let's see what he decides to do here in this instant here. He's going to go 4 energy now on this turn, which is a pretty big turn because you can either go into another Hyper Rush or you can go ahead and drop the Secret Rare if you wanted to. You don't necessarily get to activate both effects because if you're tapping 4 for it, at least it'll be able to attack as a double striker, but you won't be able to pay the 4 to draw 3 cards and make it a triple attacker. That Secret Rare is very underrated in my opinion. I mean, the sweet spot is definitely in this Vegito deck because it gives you all 4 color energy. So it's going to be interesting to see if it actually gets to play out. I, unfortunately, went up against Dan round 1 and I was playing mono green Gotenks in my budget build and I did horrible. He actually got the Secret Rare out turn 1 and it just accrued value as the game progressed because I couldn't answer a 25k attacker. I couldn't answer it until I got Grim Reaper on the board, and that was at least 2 or 3 turns later. So dealing with that amount of pressure was just way too much. That on top of Hyper Rushes, it was not much I couldn't do. What I noticed about Gotenks, and maybe that's just because I'm playing a budget variation of it and not playing, you know, the free counterplays with charismatic villains or anything like that. What I did notice is that it does take setups to play the deck efficiently. You do have to hit your 1 and your 2 and your 3 drop curves with Gokul and then your Unison on 2. and then go ahead into Grim Reaper and then Awaken. So it has a very linear path of play, but it is an efficient, explosive linear path of play. I just guess I didn't see the pieces I needed to when I needed to. So back to the board state here. Oob's going to get destroyed. He's going to absorb an attack from the leader. Dave is going to untap and draw because of his leader skill. Hyper Rush is going to go into, I believe, leader here. So that's 25k triple strike if it's going at the leader. If it's going at the Unison, it's not a bad idea. But I think at this point, you just kind of want to push for game because you do have control of the board. I don't think Baby Unison is going to be able to trigger his -5 next turn. So essentially, you have at least one more turn of ignoring him and leaving him on the board. The draw one doesn't really make a difference because you're going to out-resource your opponent as far as hand size is concerned. But he does decide to go into the Unison and knock him down from 5 to 2. So let's see what else he decides to do here. Ooh, Scientist Fu. One of the older cards, the older tournament pack promos that we got. I want to say it was like set 3 or set 4. Overwhelm for 1 with 7 and drop and draw 2 cards. But unfortunately, David does have the Trunks God-Stealing Technique in his hand, which because he controls the Unison, he gets to play for free and bounce the Fu back to the hand instead of being played. So he does meet the Overwhelm condition. He does tap 1 for it. He gets rid of his entire drop area, which I don't know if that's detrimental here. It might be. Not having a drop area might be somewhat of a negative situation here, but Daniel's a really good card game player, so I'm sure he'll be able to work his way out of it somehow. But yeah, that God-Stealing Technique is just that Charismatic Villain, like those free counterplays, even the SS4 Prideful Transformation, like those free counterplays if you control a Unison are just so strong. Obviously, Charismatic Villain and God-Stealing Technique are the two best ones. Prideful Transformation is really good, but it doesn't essentially stop your opponent's play. It just puts him in rest mode and, becomes a 14k blocker. But God-Stealing and Charismatic never let them hit the board. Or Charismatic lets it hit the board, but it KOs anything that's up to a 7-drop. And Trunks God-Stealing never lets them hit the board, just goes back to their hand. So Daniel is going to go ahead and attack, activate Senzu Bean to untap. He's got 4 energy open again. He's got the 5k on the Master Ultra Instincts on Goku. He's going to go ahead and turn sideways. Probably going to go after the Unison, just get that last marker off of him. David is going to go ahead and activate Dimension Magic, pay 1 blue, untap 2 blue, which is still probably the best blue counter in the game. On being able to untap energy. It's always been blue's, identity there. But a lot of people are up in arms because of the new cards that are coming out in the Draft Box 6. Red, yellow, blue, and green respectively are getting 1-drop silver bullets for untapping energy with counter skills. In my opinion, just play around it. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, yeah, they have barrier, which is kind of, degenerate keyword skill because there's not a lot of answers for barrier, but we're just going to have to see how everything pans out. Daniel's going to go ahead and tap 2 for Saiyan Duo Son Goku, which in my opinion is awesome. Like that tech, that option of going into Saiyan Duo and getting the Vegeta from the deck and then untapping 1 essentially is the same as Polymorphic Potara. So like if you don't get the Polymorphic Potara early game, you can play the Saiyan Duo combo, and it's virtually the same thing because you're getting your 2 Potara targets on board to go up into your Vegito. So the fact of the matter that that's included in the deck, I think is very crucial. Like for those of you who are interested in playing Set 2 Vegito with the new support, I would definitely consider playing Saiyan Duo. So shout out to Dan and the other, our other players in the group at Gamer's Edge, for helping him, build the deck and getting those good ideas on paper, because that's the first time I've seen it. I have been living under a rock for the past year or so, but that is the first time that I've seen it. And, I was just surprised that I haven't seen it more often because it just seems like such a potentially game-breaking combo for the Vegito player, just being able to go ahead and do that. So Daniel is going to go ahead and swing with that Goku into a Dimension Magic, but now he does have the Union Potara target here for his Vegito, which is going to draw him 2 cards, and he's got the energy open to go into another Hyper Rush if he needs to. And the beautiful thing about Union Potara is the card comes in active mode. that is amazing, because now if he wants to, he can go ahead and swing with that Vegito, but obviously you want to go and grab the Hyper Rush for 2 energy, because you're just going to be able to draw a ton of cards and rip a card out of your opponent's hand. So he's going to go ahead, discard an opponent's card, which he hits a Senzu Bean, which is a really good hit. He's going to go ahead, not take life, but he is going to draw 2 cards, and now he has another 25k Triple Striker on board. This is a day and age in the Dragon Ball Super card game where unique was not a keyword, and there were not any permanent skills that prevented you from playing multiple copies of cards on the board at one time. So, in the simplest terms I can put it, Hyper Rush is a boss. 25k Triple Strike coming at you. Let's see where he decides to go here. I mean, there's no point of wasting a Triple Strike on a Unison with only 1 or 2 markers on it, in my opinion. So if I was Daniel, I'd probably go at the leader here, start getting David down to a couple more, critical life total, because he does have still 5 life to Daniel's 3. That's exactly... Oh, actually, he does go after a Unison. I guess, I'm just saying what I would have done, but I didn't win this tournament, so I'm not going to disagree with his lines of play here, but that's just my opinion. He got rid of that baby Unison, cleared the board. Now David's going to have to start all over again. He's going to pass turn here. Dave's going to untap. Let's see what he decides to charge going into his 5th energy for turn... I guess it would be turn 5. Yeah, turn 5. He's going to charge an Ultra Instinct Kamehameha on tap. So he's got 5 energy. So is this the turn where you go ahead and play Obuni? Or do you have to establish another baby Unison on the board? I guess we're going to have to see here what his lines of play are. He does not have that many cards in hand. He's only got maybe like 5 or 6 cards in hand. And Daniel looks like he's got a really good amount of cards. I would say that's at least 8 or 9, maybe even 10 cards in hand, with a significant presence on board, in my opinion. And he does have that 1 energy open for any counterplays he might need. Dave's going to go ahead and tap 5 for the Zeno. Ooh, oh, okay. So Zeno Unison has a -5 where he basically board wipes. So that makes perfect sense, right? I mean, he's going to go ahead, tap 5, then he's going to activate the -5 skill to go ahead and shuffle all the cards back into the deck. And then Daniel's going to have to go ahead and reestablish his board. But here's the thing, right? All of his cards that were underneath his Union Potara go to the drop area, and then his Hyper Rushes shuffle back into the deck. So, if he has the right amount of pieces, he can go into the Hyper Rushes from the deck all over again, which is kind of a gamble, because then you reset the draw 2, you reset the discard 1, but at that point, I think it's, point of no return. David kind of had to do that board wipe because he needs to get back to an even game state. And now, because the board is clear, we're kind of in a virtual advantage again for David because he has a higher life total. So he is going to go ahead and swing with his Vegito leader into leader, 15k auto draw. I don't think there's any combos from Dan. I think we're waiting to see if there's going to be any combos from David. No combos. Dan's going to go ahead and take that life and go down to 2. Dave's going to pass. Dan's going to untap, draw for turn. He's going to charge his 5th energy this turn. And let's see, exactly, what happens here. He does have a drop area again, so if he needs to activate his free play Gokus, as long as he has all 4 colors in the drop area, he'll be able to. He's going to go ahead and charge Sanduo Vegeta, which is, again, you want to charge Gokus and Vegetas in this deck, right? So any type of Goku and Vegeta that you charge is going to give you rainbow energy, except for black, which is pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think black energy would have been... I don't even think black energy existed at this point. So he does have the rainbow energy there with the leader skill. And obviously, being at 2 life for Dan, or for any player rather, is kind of an uncomfortable situation. But we're going to see how everything works out. So he's going to go ahead and attempt to activate another Scientist Fu, Overwhelm 7, draw 2 cards. It's going to give him a 25k double striker for 1 energy, essentially, which, is fantastic. Scientist Fu, at the point of release when it first came out in the Dragon Ball Super card game, was one of, if not the best card in the game. For 1 energy, as long as you warped 7 cards away, you got one of the more efficient finishers in the game. At that point, you used to hold on to your super combos for defense, or if you were playing a winning strategy, you would hold on to your super combos to shotgun in at the end of the game. And the fact that Fu drew you 2 more cards so you can see them is what made him such an efficient finisher back then. There weren't really a lot of counterplays running around. There weren't a lot of removal spells. You know, there weren't a lot of you know, just interactions that you could do with your opponents, you know, playing, you know, the action of playing cards. So Scientist Food does have a dear place in my heart as being one of the first efficient finishers in the game. So again, super huge hand total by Dan. He's going to go ahead and swing with that Scientist Food. 25k double strike. Ooh, Dimension Magic. So we're going to Sparking Negate here. Dimension Magic untap 2, which is fine because you're sparking from 5 to 4. So you're going to get yourself a card. You're going to untap 2 energy. Vegito is going to swing at Vegito. Leader to leader auto draw. There's that free Goku, but because Dan overwhelmed again, he doesn't have the drop area to be able to free play him. So sometimes you got to be careful. There are risks if you're playing drop area specific stuff, but I think he's sitting in the driver's seat at this point. So Zamasu super combo. He's going to go ahead and arrival that Goku hit for a blue, which is a 19k blocker essentially. So he does get the combo out, and then he gets a blocker on board, which is really good in my opinion. And he's going to go ahead and arrival another Goku hit. So for those 2 energies that he got off of his Dimension Magic, he now has 2 19k blockers on the board. Oh, that's just, oof. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, that's how it goes, right? Daniel's going to go ahead and play that Dropbox 5 Goku and just blow them up. So all that work for nothing. But hey, listen, that's just how the game goes, right? So Fu goes away with the Overwhelm keyword. Goku stays in active mode. Dan passes to Dave. Dave's going to draw, untap. Don't forget to untap your leader, buddy. And let's see what he decides to charge here. At all costs, Vegeta sitting in charge is very interesting to me. Charging another God Sealing Trunks. At all costs, Vegeta, like I was saying, is one of the cards that we got. I believe it was Cross Worlds. I think it was Cross Worlds. Or it might have been the set after Cross Worlds. Another very efficient finisher back in its heyday. You know, for 4 energy, you untapped 1, drew a card, took 2 life, gave a triple strike, popped something. Like, it just did so many things in a game where there wasn't a lot of interaction, you know, with counterplays. So obviously now the card is nowhere near as good as it once was, but you could pretty much say that about anything. So it looks like attack. What was it? Bean. Okay, yep. So he beamed on the leader swing going up to 20. Dave does still have all his energy open. I'm surprised I haven't seen an Obuni or anything yet. But maybe he's just not playing it. He's going to go ahead and play that Vegeta again. It's a 15k critical. And then when he dies, he draws a card and untaps an energy. But Dan does have the counterplay response with the Vegeta. So David's Vegeta essentially is going to die, never hitting the board. Which, again, is fantastic, you know? When you're doing counterplays, you're stopping your opponent's stuff. As long as it's not hitting the board and you're sending it to an area instead of being played, their on-play autos never get to trigger. So that's going to be a very detrimental step when you're countering your opponent's strategies. So Dave's going to pass with 4 blue energy open. Daniel's going to charge a Goku, the black one, but again, because the leader skill is going to be any color he wants. And he's sitting at 6 energy, which is a lot for Vegito. Still a very healthy hand size. David sitting at 4 life. Daniel sitting at 2 life. But, you know, we're getting close to the edge there. I'm not sure how much more David has to be able to fight back against the onslaught that Dan could put on the board. I mean, again, like, Hyper Rush is just, if he can go into another Hyper Rush combo, Triple Strike 25k with a book in hand is just too much pressure. So he's going to go ahead and, you know, turn sideways with this Goku here, 15k to 15k. Let's see if David decides to counter. It might be what he's mulling over right now. You know, you're getting to you know, the amount of attacks that Vegito can do, you know, is pretty uncomfortable. So he does combo out with a 5k, but again, you're comboing cards out of your hand. That's less resources you have to get your opponent back on the crackback. So we'll see what happens here. He's going to swing with this Vegeta, which is, I believe, only a 10k, but that's not a problem at this point because you have enough cards to super combo, if anything, or you have cards to just free 5k combo if needed to go up. So it's not really much of an issue when you have 12 cards in hand. He's going to go ahead and combo the Goku to make it 15. A very efficient play. You know, at worst, David has to combo a card out of his hand or take a damage. So he's dwindling resources slowly but surely, pinching and chipping away at his opponent's hand slash life total. So David is going to take that damage, go to 3. Dan's got all of his energy open to do whatever he wants. So let's see, he's going to tab, what is that, 4, 5? Nope. He's just going to check the drop area to see possibly if there are any counterplays. So he's just probably reading the language on the trunks, because the God Sealing technique that David resolved earlier, there was a Unison on the board. So because there's a Unison in play, he doesn't have to pay the cost to play that card. So he is going to go ahead and hard cast that Hyper Rush for 5. Or is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 5 energy, rip a card out of his opponent's hand. And you can see that he ripped the Gohan's Baby's Minion counter play out, or counter attack out of the hand, and David just goes ahead and scoops. Listen, sometimes that's how it happens. Again, shout out to Dan for putting on a great performance first day back. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys next time. Be there or be squared.